Hi again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Ask the Lawyers. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com. Today, we're going to ask the lawyer about what is becoming a fact of life for many people, namely bankruptcy. And here to answer our questions is attorney David Shuster, and he's of the Shuster Law firm in the Dallas, Texas area. David specializes in bankruptcy and consumer law. And David, thank you for taking some time to be with us today.
No problem. Glad to be here. Thanks.
So with more and more people filing for bankruptcy these days, why is there still a stigma when it is related to bankruptcy?
I don't know if that's ever going to change, but if you don't know, it's largely because they just don't know what it is and what it means. And more specifically, they might know what it meant to someone else who told them about it, but they don't know what it means for them. My situation. What does it mean for me? Somebody else did it. The stigma in bankruptcy is, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that person. No, I'm not bankrupt. I'm not going to do that. But yet the lack of knowledge, I think there were many people that have coined the phrase knowledge is power. I think Sir Francis Bacon was the originator of that one. And the good news is just a little bit of knowledge from an experienced professional about bankruptcy can go a long way for you. And then you can make an educated decision. But why is simply just the stereotype of the word. I don't want to be there. It's just not wanting to hear about something that is not their normal self. I haven't been there before. I've always been able to pay my bills, that sort of thing.
Do you think for some people it's kind of like admitting defeat?
Exactly. Admitting defeat. That's a good way to put it.
Now, do you find that there's a difference? I imagine when people come into your office, it's a stressful time for them. Like you said, they don't want to be there. Do you see a difference in people when they first come to meet with you and even after they leave after that very first consultation?
I sure do. Unlike going to the dentist, it's usually once you get there, it's going to start to suck, right? Then, but when you come here and I give them that little piece of information, that knowledge that they need, it's almost like I can just see the weight being lifted off their back, right? Because there's, of course, it's not for everybody, so I'm not going to recommend it if it doesn't fit your situation. But talking to a professional about it, you'll be amazed. It's just like, this eye-opening potentially. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that attracted me to this practice area in the beginning was being able to give advice that directly applies to their situation and literally just watching, the weight being lifted off their back as they realize that, oh, wait a second, I could be out of this in 6 months, 90 days, a year, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to be weighed down by this for the next 5 to 10 years of my life or more. Yeah.
Let's talk about the basic Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Tell us a little bit what that is, and then take us step by step through the process if someone decides they come to you, they're talking about Chapter 7 and how that all works.
I like to refer to a Chapter 7 as really the best get out of debt plan, right? I mean, it really is. The step-by-step process is just firstly determining that you're not going to lose anything, right? So it's very predictable. The second step is just determining if somebody qualifies based on their income, if they've had one in the past 8 years. Once those steps are crossed, then we get a lot of information back from the client in the form of tax returns, pay stubs, and just making disclosures that all go onto this bankruptcy petition. Once it's reviewed by them and it's reviewed by me, we file it. That time frame, first the time you meet with the attorney, for the time you actually file the case, is inevitably going to be a few weeks or more. Sometimes it's several months, just getting the information, deciding if they want to do it. Once the case is actually filed, the beauty of this, and one of the reasons why I call it the best get out of debt plan, because 90 days afterwards, you're out of debt, right? You are discharged from your debt in 90 days, only one hearing in between that time period that you're attending, and then you're off, you're done. And so it really is a clean process. And again, predictable because we've determined that no one's going to lose anything, and then we file it and you're done and out of debt.
So you've said no one's going to lose anything a couple of times. What does that mean? I'm not going to
lose.
Well,
it means if I know everything about the client's situation and they've told me the assets that they own. I mean, I've had, over the years, I've had clients that didn't know that they owned things, which can be a problem, right? You have without going into detail about those situations, I mean, that does happen. You don't know your name is on a bank account or a title or something like that, piece of land, a family member put in your name didn't tell you. But if you're telling me everything you know, then the only thing that really could mean that the only way you could maybe lose something is if something comes in after you filed, right? You inherit property after you file, you discover you have an asset you didn't know you have. So the no one loses anything means that, if there's nothing unexpected like that, then we're not going to file it unless we've had a discussion. So the client and I will talk, there's this account over there that you might not be able to keep. And so with that discussion, we know if it's possible that they're going to lose something or not, right? Because there's very clear rules to the process. So by the time we've gotten to the point where we're actually filing the petition, right? And again, if I know everything about the client's situation, then there's nothing to be lost other than something that might be coming in that they don't know about, right? So it is very predictable, and that's what's nice. It's kind of like business as usual, but without the debt.
So generally, people worry I might lose my house or lose my car or my kid's car. That's not the case?
No, we're talking about the state of Texas here, obviously, because the rules differ state to state.
Sure.
But no, here in Texas, it's a car for every licensed driver in the house. Your house in Texas can be owned outright. You've got an unlimited homestead exemption. So the law protects people that are filing bankruptcy. Here in Texas, we have exemptions that generally include everything the household has: retirement accounts, car for every licensed driver, home, furnishings up to a very reasonable amount. And so, these assets are something that you do not lose in a bankruptcy, right? I mean, as an example of something that you might lose would be this piece of land in New Mexico, or, like a stock trading account that's not a retirement account. Something what I like to call unusual, right? Which most people don't have if they can't pay their debts. Usually they've exhausted all those things.
So what sort of debts can be discharged in Chapter 7, and what are maybe some of the more common ones that cannot?
The debts that can be discharged in Chapter 7 are, primarily credit card debt, okay? Any outstanding unsecured loans. Anything on your credit report really can go away except for student loans and any taxes that are more recent, right? You can discharge tax debt that has accrued for at least 3 years. So most taxes are not dischargeable if it's recent, and then of course student loans. But everything else you can discharge. I mean, anyone that's alleging that you owe them money. I mean, if you have a judgment against you for some sort of intentional tort because you deceived somebody, well, then we're in a different category there, obviously. All right, there's rules of protection. But in general, I mean, anything that's on your credit report, you owe money to people. I mean, you can discharge in a bankruptcy, and if it's a loan that you want to keep paying because you have an asset tied to it, like a tractor, because you have to use that tractor to work. If you have, anything like that, car, for example, drive, home that you're living in, then, there's ways to reaffirm those debts so they can actually appear positively on your credit afterwards.
And for a lot of people, bankruptcy is a last resort. And is there a rule of thumb for how long you wait before you come talk to someone like you? Is it possible to go too early? Is it possible to go too late? Help us out with the timeline.
It's not possible to go too early, and it is possible to go too late if you have creditors that take action against that person before they seek bankruptcy protection. So, it almost always a general rule of thumb for anybody watching this video is to call now. I mean, you're current with everybody. Maybe, I just met with a lady this morning who found out that she's going to be leaving her job in the fall because they're closing this particular location, right? So she was so relieved just to be able to know, oh, wait a second. So when I lose my job, I can do this, this, and this if I don't find another job. So it's really never too early. That's for sure. All right. So, and it can definitely be too late. But talk to somebody, even if you think it's too late. But you want to talk to somebody, a bankruptcy attorney. If you look at the amount of debt that you have, and you're kind of just thinking, it's certainly not going to get paid off in the next few months. And then, well, what about the next few years? Well, not that either. So then just a quick phone call just to say, no one's going to, post it anywhere. Just a private phone call to an attorney that says, oh, I have $50,000 worth of debt. I make $50,000. I have a car, 2 kids. And for that attorney to be able to give you direct advice is just the way out. It's eye-opening. Again, knowledge is power, definitely. And the good news is it's just a little bit of knowledge. Like, it's not like you have to learn anything. You just have to know how the rules will apply to your situation.
And we always hear, well, if you file for bankruptcy, your credit is ruined for 7 years. Is that really true? Is there any way that this can have a positive impact on your credit?
Yes, it can have a positive impact on your credit. Okay. After the bankruptcy is done, you don't owe anybody any money any longer, right? So your debt is discharged. And so the impact on your credit is that you wipe everything out quicker than you otherwise would. Okay. So, the better alternative, like I tell clients, is like, do you think you're going to have a windfall of money coming in? Right. And they're no. Okay. Well, unless you have some sort of idea that you're going to have like a drastic increase in income to pay off this debt, then a bankruptcy often is the best way to get it off and clean it up quicker, because even in a debt settlement situation, you're going to think about how long it's going to take to make those payments. And then finally, when they are all made, how long it's going to take to update your credit report. So, there's definitely economics here, which I like economics, studied in college, and how much is it going to take to get rid of this stuff? How long is it going to take? What's your fee going to cost, Mr. Attorney? And just how does that all work out? And will it work for me? The short answer on the credit is that it's gotten a lot better over the past couple of years, right? 4 months out of a bankruptcy, or we'll just say 3 to 6 months out of the Chapter 7, all right? And keep in mind, it's a 90-day process. And so we're still talking like with well under a year of starting the process of a Chapter 7, well under a year later, you'll already bounce back to a 700 credit score and be able to get a decent rate on an auto loan. And a lot of people are surprised to hear that, but that's just what I'm hearing firsthand from clients that come back and talk to me.
Wow, it's great advice, David. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyers. My guest has been David Shuster of the Shuster Law Firm up in the Dallas area. Please take a second to click on the button at the bottom of the screen and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're considering bankruptcy and you want the best information, or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, please visit AskTheLawyers.com. I'm Rob Rosenthal for AskTheLawyers.com.